I don't know if you, oh,
Actually,
I'm good. I'm just driving, so I'm gonna have to, yeah, but I'm gonna listen to you.
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it. It's like a little podcast. Okay. Sex code is the so okay. Sorry, I'm like, what the hell? I had a dream last night and I'm adding a 7th code, and now I've like lost count for all of my codes. Like, what the hell code is this? Consistency. Okay, we are live on Facebook. So good. Just move this around so I can see if there are any comments. I also need this one over here. And I'm gonna put you over there. Okay. I need to pull up the chat, make sure I can let everybody see everybody's comments, pull everybody in. Okay. Okay. So, pull up my notes and get this going. Okay. So first, before we dive in, I do just want to let everybody know that last night, in Lindsay Gold fashion, of course, I always have way too much to say. Last night, I had this really, really, really incredible dream. And I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, fuck, there's a 7th code. So there's going to be there's now 7 instead of 6. We had a bonus one at the beginning. It only makes sense, universe, that we would have a bonus one at the end. So thank you for that. So today we are going to dive over, we're going to go through the 6th code. And tomorrow we are still going to have our Q&A session, but in advance of the Q&A session, I am just going to talk a little bit about the 7th code, because I think it's really, I think just from like an overarching standpoint, this one is just like so important, it must be said. So today we're going to dive into the 6th code, but before we do, I really just want to take this opportunity to first clear up any misconceptions. Sorry, I have something here. Any misconceptions that you may have of me. I do not have $100,000 in the bank, nor have I ever. I do not come from a wealthy family. My mom and dad were both teachers. I'm also one of 3 girls. I do not have a trust fund. I incurred $80,000 worth of debt from university, my master's, all my nutrition accreditations. I have credit card debt today. I have credit card debt. I have a ginormous mortgage. I am hypothyroid. I have insulin resistance. I have a history of obesity in my family, so my genes aren't exactly primed for weight loss. And the reason why I think it is so important for me to say this to you is because I want you to clear up any sort of misconceptions that you may have had about me, so that there is zero excuses that you can make about my success. Because I think oftentimes whenever we see somebody who's done something that we want to do, or if they've achieved a goal that we want to achieve, immediately we're like, oh, well, she has this. Oh, well, she has that. Oh, well, she must have had this. Oh, she must have done that. And I think it's very, very important that I share this with you, because the one thing, the only thing that I have is that I am resourceful as fuck. And that's the sixth code, resourcefulness. And why is it the sixth code? Because without it, your roadblocks will be many and your results will be few. Because without it, the moment that you are presented with any kind of obstacle, you are going to fold. And I think about this all of the time, more now. It's so funny because Sarah actually mentioned this the other day, that like she's really starting to apply this to like her kid. Now more than ever, I think about this as a mom. I think about this with Madison and Sienna, because it is so easy. It's so easy to do everything for them. It's so easy. My life would be so much faster and more efficient if I just took over and solved the problem. If I took over and did up their coats, if I took over and put on their shoes, if I helped them get dressed, if I like spoon fed them breakfast every single day, my life would be like this. I would move probably at the speed of light, I'm convinced, because so much of my life right now feels like, and we're just trucking along. And so I think about that, because as much as my life would be easier and faster and more efficient, I'm sure we would get a lot done. My girls would be completely incapable of figuring shit out and how to become more resourceful. And it's funny because growing up, this was the one thing that I hated most about my mom and dad. I hated them for this, because we grew up, we were absolutely not wealthy, like lower middle class, I would say. I went to school with kids who had a lot of stuff. And so one of my best friend in particular, her parents were wealthy. They had a lot of money. Like she had everything. She always had the coolest new shoes. She always had new clothes. They bought her a brand new freaking car for her birthday, like for her 16th, like all of the things. And so I resented the shit out of my parents, because I was like, I don't have any of this. I had to work for everything. And so it's ironic now, because the very thing that I hated them for and despised them for growing up is now the thing that I love them for, probably more than anything else in the world. Because there were no free rides in our house. They didn't pay for my university. If I wanted new shoes, I had to go buy them. Like otherwise, like they would buy them for me, but they would be like no name brand, like very discount bottom dollar store like kind of shoes, which was totally fine. Growing up, I didn't know the difference. But as soon as I got to a place where I was like, I care about brands, teenagers, they all care about brands. I care about brands. I want to be cool. I want to fit in. I had to go figure it out. I was not going to get it from them. And so I started working. Oh my God, I started when I think about it, I'm like my fucking father. Like I had a paper route when I was like 8 years old. Me and my sister Kim, she was 6, mostly me. I covered most of it, but like I had a paper route. So I can remember getting up with my dad at like stupid o'clock in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays and going to deliver papers in the freezing cold, especially in winter. Like, and I was a kid. And it was one of those things where it's like, you want money? This is how you go get it. I started working when I was 15. I got a job and I worked almost every single night after school. Because again, like my friends had all of the cool things. I wanted the cool things. I wanted a cell phone. I wanted a pager. Like I wanted like all of these things. I had to go and get it. had to go out and get my own loans for university because I also had like the very special benefit of having parents that made just a little bit too much money that I couldn't qualify for like government loans, which are way cheaper. I had to go to the big banks and get loans. I worked full time. I went to university full time, worked 40-hour weeks and went to university for however many hours I had. It made me resourceful as fuck. And believe it or not, I talk about manifestation a lot in my life because I'm really, really good at it. But believe it or not, I also think that this is what has made me such an incredible manifester, because I get laser focused on what it is that I want and I do not stop until it's mine. And that's my vibe. Marcus knows. He used to hate this about me. Now it's one of the things where he's just like, well, if she says we're going to move to Europe, we're probably going to move to Europe. Because that's my belief system. Whatever I want is mine. And I also believe that no matter what, there is always a way. That is like, it's in my DNA. And I have proven it to myself over and over and over again in my life. Whenever there is an obstacle that comes up, I have shown myself that it doesn't matter. When I went to the gym and I was sitting down with the owner and he was saying to me, it's going to run you about $1,000 a month. And I was making no money. And I had just gotten out of my school loans, just saved enough to buy up my first condo, was like so poor because of my mortgage and my maintenance fees and all of that. Like, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I can navigate this on like multiple cards. I made it happen. I sold stuff. I did whatever I could to bring in more money. And I made it happen. Even on my mat leave, I remember when we had Maddie and I had made the decision of like, okay, I really want Nourish to be a thing. I think that this is actually my calling. I don't want to do corporate life anymore. I really just want to build my own business. I hired a business coach for $10,000. When I was bringing in, how much did I make on that leave? Probably $900 a month. And Marcus was a personal trainer. And we had like a $2,500 rent. Like no money was coming in. And I remember I had to sit down with Marcus and I was like, so there's this business coach. It's going to cost me 10 grand. How much do you got on your credit card? Let's make this happen. Same thing with Steph, my current coach. I can remember finding her, falling in love with her, and just doing everything that I possibly could to be in her world. Any course that she took, anything that she had, but she had this mastermind. And I remember, and I will never ever do this again. I remember I counted myself out and I was like, God, 40K US is a lot of money. So it's like what, 55 plus I didn't pay 40K US if you paid in full. 40K US is a lot of money. I don't know how I'm going to happen. And I remember, because I manifest everything, Steph reached out to me and was like, I love your vibe. I love your energy. I want you to be in this container. I think this is going to transform your life. And I was like, I agree. How do we make this happen? And so again, spaced out the payments, put things on multiple credit cards, sold things, moved shit around. How do I come up with like $60,000 Canadian? Steph, how can we make this happen? And thankfully, she was the type of woman, as am I, where it's like, if you want it, I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen for you. Money is not the issue. So we spaced it all out, put it on multiple cards, made it happen. But here's the interesting thing that has come up in all of these scenarios in my life. When you are sitting there and when you are on the cusp of them, you are scared shitless. You are so scared. Your heart rate is pounding. You are sweaty. You're like, oh, like Every single negative thought that I could ever think about myself is running in my head. Every single possible scenario, which sometimes is so ridiculous, is running through my head. Steph's was the biggest of all time because I was like, I could freaking could we lose the house? What could possibly happen? Could we lose the house? That's always like my worst case. Yes, we could probably lose the house. Okay, what would we then do if we lost the house? Because I'm resourceful. So in every scenario, I was terrified. In every scenario, there was an obstacle that came up that was blocking me from my goals. And I was like, oh my God, this feels so freaking scary and I don't want to do it. But like we discussed yesterday with emotional intelligence, fear clouds your judgment. It clouds it. Because we feel the fear and we think that fear equals danger. We think that fear equals danger. When in actuality, what I like to believe now is that there is something that is so big that's waiting for you that you're just like, holy shit, I can't believe this is going to happen. I truly believe in these moments, it's excitement. But that's how I have reframed my brain around doing scary things. Holy crap, this is a new edge that I am pushing up against, and I'm going to go right the fuck through it. Holy crap, this is going to be transformative. Because an investment is a split-second choice that you have to believe faster than you doubt. That's what an investment is. Split-second choice. You are almost joining the trust that you have with who you are today with the trust that you have in terms of where you are going. And the funny thing is like being in the coaching space, and obviously a lot of you guys aren't in the coaching space, you constantly would hear that you have to invest to get to the next level. You have to invest to get to the next level. My belief is this: you invest to give energy to where you are going and who you are becoming, because I believe that money is energy. And so like the more that you put it towards the things that you want, the more that it, as well as the things, will come back to you. Investing to me isn't a means of getting to the next level. Investing is why you become the person you are at the next level. Because in order to get to the next level, you have to do things that you've never done before, which means that you have to put yourself in situations that you've never been before, which also means that you have to have the resourcefulness to figure them out like you've never done before. Which is interesting because when we really think about it, some areas of our life, we are so good at this naturally and we don't even think about it. Like being a mom or at your job. If your kid poops in their pants at the park and you don't have a diaper or a spare change of clothes, you got to figure that out. And you do. If your boss gives you a massive assignment with a short turnaround time and your plate is already full with a ton of stuff, you got to figure that out. And we do. We figure it out. We make it happen. We get it done all the time. All the time. Maddie and Sienna have thrown so many curveballs at me in my life that I'm like, there isn't anything that I can't handle. I've had the poopy bum at the park without the change of clothes and the diaper. And I stripped my kid down. Stripped her down. It was like, you're going to go buck naked. And then I'm going to walk around the store and I'm going to go to whatever it was, like Max Milk. And I'm going to try to find baby wipes or diapers or something. I figured it out. Another mom might have done something totally different. We just figure it out. We don't have a choice, really. We don't really have a choice in the matter. It's already done. It's already happened. We have to move. Or at least we've conditioned our brains to think that way. And I think that we've conditioned our brains to think that way because in these moments, people are depending on us. We are going to let somebody else down. Because reversely, if we forget to take something out for dinner, oftentimes, if you're on a diet, you're like, if you come home and you're just like, oh crap, I totally forgot to take something out for dinner. Well, the night's done. Let's just order in pizza then. The only person that you are going to let down is yourself. And we're okay with that, which goes back to the other code, radical responsibility. Because we will blame, oh, I forgot to take something out for dinner. I had no choice. I had to order pizza. We don't choose to be resourceful in the same way when it comes to ourselves and our dreams. We throw up our hands and we give up. It's not going to happen right now. Maybe it's just not in the cards. Like I was even talking to Mark, who was talking to my sister-in-law the other day, and she is quitting her job. Her and my sister moved to PEI, and she's quitting her job to fulfill a lifelong dream. She wants to become a chef. She's gonna be the best chef in the world. She's so freaking good. Wants to become a chef. And she was saying to Marcus the other day, like, she was like, nah, I don't really know, because right now she's in tech. I don't really know, like, I don't want to let people down at work. I don't want to leave. We're getting all these big accounts and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're about to sacrifice a lifelong dream because of other people. Who cares? Figure it out. Because that's the thing. When you really stop and think about it, everything is figure outable. Particularly, I always like to say in this day and age with Google. With Google, you can do anything with Google. I could have built my business with Google. I just didn't want to because I wanted to move quickly. I could have sat on Google all day and Googled everything that I've ever done in my business. It's going to take me God only knows where I would be right now. Same thing with weight loss. You can sit on Google all day. You can Google everything. Everything's available to you. It's going to take you a really long freaking time. Which is funny because how many times do I hear women say, oh, I can't stay on track because I just need more recipes. I just don't know what to make. Can you give me some recipes? Google. Figure it out. Google. The thing is that there is an unlimited amount of support available to us, and yet we always choose not to access it. And the saddest part is that it costs us our goals and our dreams. And it's funny because the point that I always make, I make this all the time because I completely stand by it, is if $1 million was resting on you staying on track, if $1 million was on the line for you to lose this weight, would you be able to do it? I have no doubt in my mind. This weight would come off no problem. So then the question stands, why is it that your goals aren't that important to you? And believe me, I am somebody who I'm like, yes, there are always extenuating circumstances. There's always some stuff that's going to come up that is going to throw you off track. That's like a normal part of life. But I think after having done this so long and after having worked with so many freaking incredible clients, like, I guess you could say like my bandwidth for that gets smaller and smaller and smaller every single year. because I've worked with a single mom who had 6 kids, and she paid for the top of the line program. She borrowed money from her mom and dad. She asked for it for her birthday. Like, she put all of it together so she could work with me. She lost the weight, kept it off. And because of that, now she's a personal trainer making like 3 times the amount of money that she was making before, making her own hours, doing whatever it is that she wants to do, like literally living her dream life. I have seen women go on vacation in completely foreign countries and still manage to stay on track because they figure it out. And this is the bar now that I choose my clients. Because from the moment I meet you, I am very good at telling whether or not this is a skill that you have. The belief, the embodiment, that stuff can come. Stuff like radical responsibility, emotional intelligence, resourcefulness, that's in you. That's in you. Because when you want it so bad, you have to have that energy of like, no matter what. Decisiveness. Action-oriented. Growth mindset. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Because it shows me that you don't just apply this to one area, you apply it to all areas, which is why I'm like, if you have it in one area, you can do it in all areas. That to me is a choice. Because when you have that attitude, when you have that approach, literally nothing is out of your reach. Nothing is out of my reach. The only thing that is in my way is me. All the time. And so the question then becomes, how is it that we can build up our resistance? How is it that we can strengthen that muscle and flex it and get really, really good at it so that when an obstacle comes up, our first reaction isn't like, I can't figure this out. I'm just gonna, I'm out. I'm done. To me, the very first thing, I mean, there's so many things, but the very first one, I think, is you have to be comfortable to step outside of your comfort zone. The biggest growth periods of my life have come at the cost of the hardest times. I've said that time and time again. I don't think that the person that I am today would be sitting here had I not spent the past 3 years dealing with my health, growing a business with 2 toddlers, like going through like the hardest parts of my marriage with Marcus. And I say this all the time. The clients that I love the most, which is so weird, but the clients I find that are the most successful are the ones who have almost had the hardest lives. The ones who have had to work through the mud, who've had to be resourceful. Because they know how to handle the shit. They do. They're really good in shitty situations. Their biggest problem is having the belief that they're worthy for wonderfulness and embodying that. So they know how to be in the trenches. They don't know how to soar. And it's really easy to teach somebody how to soar when they are so resourceful. So I think it's really important to be able to have the emotional intelligence, to be able to become really comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where the growth happens. Because then you start to build up this Rolodex of, oh my God, I am unstoppable. Your story then becomes, I can do motherfucking anything I put my mind to. Because you have so many examples. You start to build up the proof behind your power instead of the doubt. Can I do this? Is this possible? I don't know. But and I'm like, that doesn't even exist anymore in my mind. And I think it died with Steph because I had a little bit of doubt with her, and I will never doubt myself again after that, ever. Because I've proven myself right. When I bet on me, I win all the time. All the time, hands down, I win. So the more that you can push yourself to those edges, the better you get. The better you get at trying to figure it out. The more that you have the opportunity to try to figure it out. Because I think that when we play it safe, that's where we stay small. Like, I remember once I started working with Steph, I hit this like massive freaking milestone the very first month of working with her. And I was just like, this is outrageous. And then the second month I did it again. And then the third month I did it again. And then the fourth month I was like, I'm really comfortable here. This feels really safe. I don't know how to get to the next level. What does the next level look like? Because I had no edge there. I had nothing pushing me. And so I had to create a new edge. I was like, well, this is the new standard. This is where we got to go. We know that we can do this now. What's next? Because I mean, I could stay where I am right now. It's fine. But that's not what my dreams are about. Because the frustrating thing is about growth. And we talk about this all the time. The frustrating thing about growth is that with every new stage, there's a new edge. With every new thing that you figure out in your life, there's going to be, if you choose to keep growing, there's going to be something new for you to come up against. Like I always ask Steph, like I'm like, what are the things that you struggle with right now? She's like, same things I always did, just on a bigger level. I still have money shit. I still have client shit. Like I still have all of those things. It's just now I'm growing a global freaking empire. Now, instead of worrying about how I'm going to pay bills, I'm worrying about whether or not I made a smart investment of investing $1 million into a specific fund. Same problems, just on a different scale. But you keep coming up against the edges. And so that's why it's really important. When I referenced the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, and to really start to figure out what yours is. Because with a growth mindset, we have that energy, we have that vibe of anything's possible. That failure is not an option. And what I mean by not an option is it's not possible, because even when you fail, you grow and you learn. But that growth mindset is also about like, if you don't try, you're never going to know. That was the biggest thing that I had with Steph. I was like, what if this doesn't work? What if I spend all this money and it doesn't work? What's going to happen? I had to trust myself to know that even if that was the case, even if I went in, even if I invested, even if I gave 110% and I didn't get anything out of this, would I still be okay? The answer is always yes. Because along the way, I would have learned so much about myself, about the business, about what to do, about what not to do. Like, there is never an opportunity to fail. That's why, like, my mantra right now is like, some of us are entering into a season of our lives where we have no choice but to fucking win. I've got no choice but to win, because that's the energy. That's the vibe. Even when things are at their worst. Worst case scenario, Worst case scenario, everything in my life. Marcus and I break up. Something happens to the girls. Something happens to my mom and dad. I have no choice but to rise. I have no choice. And because of all of those things, I will become stronger. I'll become better. Whereas with a fixed mindset, it's like, I'd rather not take the risk. If I fail at something, it's because I just don't have the ability to do it. Maybe it's just not meant to be. Maybe this just isn't the right time. People with fixed mindsets believe that risk and effort are two things that reveal your inadequacies. They show that you weren't fit for the task. I don't believe that at all. I believe that risk and effort show yourself what you're truly made of. And so if taking a risk, if putting in the effort, and if failing is something where you're just like, ugh, I don't want to do that, then that's exactly what you're going to get. Sarah said, I don't remember who said it, but whether you believe you can or you can't, you are right. Exactly. So this really comes back to, how are you talking to yourself in those moments? What is the level of compassion and understanding that you show yourself on a day-to-day? If things don't work out, if you do hit a bump, how do you treat yourself? How are you showing up for you? How are you framing this situation? Like, is it like, I'll never forget, I think it was Brene Brown. It might just have been Brene Brown. I can't remember. It's probably Brene Brown. But she said, you know, when she was talking about shame, and I can't remember, I'm going to butcher this so badly, but she talks about the fact that like shame is saying, like, when you make a mistake, it's like, oh, I'm so stupid. How could I have done that? Compassion for yourself is like, that was pretty stupid, but it could have happened to anybody. You remove the responsibility, not the responsibility, but like you reframe it, because it's not, you're not putting blame on yourself. You as a human aren't stupid. The thing that you did was dumb. Happens to me all the time. I do dumb shit every time. And I always remind myself, like, if I'm like, oh man, Lindsay, stupid girl, like, no, I'm not dumb. That was dumb. So for me, a big part of resilience, and then I'm gonna wrap this up because I just want to be cognizant of time. So for me, a big part of the resilience piece is really understanding that whatever it is that you're about to do is hard. I remind myself of this every single day. Building a business is hard. I'm convinced that like entrepreneurs are masochists. I don't know who the hell signs up for this. Building a business is hard. Building a business with 2 toddlers is really hard. Building a business with 2 toddlers and another entrepreneur is hard. So things are going to be hard. Know that, Lindsay. Going in every single day, you're going to come up against some hard shit. I normalize it. Because then when it happens, I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's hard. This is hard. It's okay, it's hard. It's hard for everybody. I think it's also really powerful then, like I was saying earlier, is to keep track of your edges. Keep track of the things that you have done and overcome. I have an entire folder on my phone of moments where I won. Moments where I went up against something big and I won. And somehow I captured the moment. And I keep them in a folder on my phone so that on the days where I'm like, I don't freaking think I can do this anymore, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Both of the days that Maddie and Sienna were born are in that freaking folder. You can naturally birth a child. You can go through labor for 12 hours. You can freaking do anything. And so I think having that perspective is helpful. Helpful to remind you of what you're made of, what you're capable of. Helpful to show you that when you are pushed up against an edge, you always win. And again, when we go back to that manifestation piece, that's the whole thing. You have to believe that you can do this. You have to know that this is possible for you. And doubt can exist. I feel like it's always going, with every new edge, I think it gets a little bit different. There are certain aspects of my life right now that I used to believe, or I used to have a lot of doubt around, where now I'm like, I have zero doubt. But then there's a new edge. Sorry, it's my husband. Then there's a new edge with new doubt. But I think that when you have that perspective there, it's just more proof. It's more proof of your power all the time. And I think the other important thing too is to always just remember, like, I've had to do this so often in my life, is to really try to really understand what the path is, like have some realistic expectations about what that path looks like. And I say this all the time with Nourished. All of you guys who are my clients know this. Like, this is going to be the hardest thing you have ever done in your life. Set that expectation. I would be doing my clients such a disservice if I came in and I'm like, total cakewalk, you're going to nail it from start to finish, no brainer. Is my strategy effortless? Yeah, I think my strategy is one of the easiest strategies in the world. Super easy. I feel like it's a lifestyle. I feel like once you get it down, it really flows well. Is the day-to-day effortless? Is the day-to-day easy? No. Day-to-day is not easy at all. Hardest thing you're ever going to do. You eat 3 times a day, so you got to face food 3 times a day, not to mention you're dealing with like decades of crap. Choose your hard zone, yeah. But knowing that, going in with that, of saying to yourself, okay, this is going to be really hard. I know this is going to be hard. Here's my laundry list of other hard things that I have just kicked ass in. Makes it so much easier. That's what makes you resourceful. Knowing that you can do anything. Having that belief that nothing is out of your reach, because nothing is out of your reach. Anything is really possible. I've seen it time and time again. I have so much proof, not only within myself, but with it because of all of my incredible clients. Time and time again, they fall down, they get back up. They fall down, they get back up. They fall down, they get back up. And I'm like, I don't know how much more proof I can need. Women crushing it all the time, and crushing it not by like, I'm not talking about like losing massive amounts, scales, numbers on the scales dropping. Like, I'm talking about showing up for themselves every single day. That's my definition of crushing it. Not giving up. Keep going. And that's why resourcefulness is so important, because you need to be resourceful in order to keep going. So your homework for today is, I want you to create that file folder for yourself. Maybe not necessarily on your phone, although it's a really cool thing to start doing. Every single time you have a celebration, every single time you have a hard day, keep track of it. But I want you to really just take a minute and sit down and start to look at all of the areas, all of the things in your life that you have done and you have overcome. And you have overcome it effortlessly. Maybe not effortlessly, but you have overcome it because of your resourcefulness. And then the next thing is to really remind yourself, again, tap into the emotional intelligence. And when these feelings come up, if there's something that feels hard, if there's something that feels frustrating, slow yourself down. The fear, the frustration, the I want to give up, not real. It's just our like gut reaction to it. Your soul is telling you an entirely different story. And the only way you're going to hear that truth, because that's the truth, the only way that you're going to hear that is if you slow down and listen. But if you just keep moving, keep going, you don't even think, you're going to buy into the fear. So with that being said, I'm going to hop off. We have another coaching call that we're going to be preparing for. But I just want to thank you guys for coming so much today and sharing this one. This is a huge one, as always. And tomorrow is going to be the bonus code is going to be, it's everything. I feel like they're all everything, but this one is truly everything. So I'm excited to see all of your faces. As always, if you have any questions, we're here. I hope you guys have an amazing Friday, and I'll see you in the group. Bye. Do-do.